Stage Wanderer here, coming at you from my van down by the river. I'm just a guy with a broken phone. My phone is broke. Okay, so wanted to talk today about a very serious topic. So imagine with me, if you will, that you have been out at a bar having a drink to unwind, and you meet an attractive stranger, and you share a moment, and you talk back and forth, and they buy you a drink. And then the next thing you know, you wake up in a bathtub filled with ice cubes. And there's a note stuck to the faucet on the drain. And you're in this hotel bathtub filled with ice. And it says, "Don't panic. We just removed one of your kidneys. Go to a medical facility immediately and seek treatment." And that's it. So this is the urban legend of the involuntary organ harvesting. This is a story that I don't think anyone can trace back to an actual event, but it's one of those things that has been talked about enough until it's made its way into urban legend status. The idea that a rich person would pay a person of dubious moral background, a criminal type person, to lure unsuspecting donors into a situation where they could be drugged and then surgically have their organs removed. There's also a similar story about a person that wakes up blind, although I guess they can't read the note because their corneas were taken out. It's one of those things where you gotta laugh to keep from crying. And I really saw all of this as one big, man with the golden arm or the hook, an urban legend, a fairy tale, a ghost story. And I never gave it much thought. I didn't necessarily believe they were harvesting the organs of homeless people or whatever to the black market of organs. I just didn't think it was a thing. I just thought it was, I don't know, too far-fetched. And so, being a former Alex Jones fan, almost an Alex Jones junkie, I even bought some of his stuff. It actually works. Pretty good stuff, beside the point. But at any rate, when I heard Alex Jones just kind of off the cuff talk about how they're harvesting organs in China for the black market, that they're taking Christians and taking their organs from them and selling them to rich Europeans, I just thought it was more of the same stuff. I mean, after all, it's Alex Jones. But I thought, hey, I should do a coffee talk on this. So this video started out to be a coffee talk about organ harvesting. The thing is, as I researched it, I didn't think it was a theory anymore. It's a full-blown kind of in-your-face, not even really a conspiracy, but more or less a in-the-open cover-up and denial of something that is absolutely going on and being documented by international watchdog groups. I did not believe that this was a real thing until I started researching it, and I ran into some very, very credible sources. I'm not going to list them, but these individuals have spoken in front of the Australian Parliament, have spoken in front of the UK Parliament. Surprisingly enough, they have not to my knowledge spoken to the American Congress, but many of these European states, I think they're more concerned with it because I think due to China and America's interaction, it's probably less common for Americans to go directly from America to China, because this is what's being called, and I kid you not, they're calling this transplant tourism. So it's like you go on a vacation to someplace, but to get a transplant. And apparently China is the capital of this kind of tourism. And so, but it's uncommon for Americans to fly straight to China. So what's typically done is they go to these other countries like France or Germany or the UK, and then they stay there for a minute while they figure things out and get it all lined up, and then they hop to China from there. And so it's getting less attention because it's all happening more through the European countries. There's the jumping off point for this tourism. So, or maybe, our government just is so busy worrying about Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump's penis size that they've just completely overlooked the fact that China is taking human beings and harvesting their organs while they're still alive and selling them on the black market to rich people. Let's be clear about what's going on here. Case in point. Well, here's another thing I want to, before I go down the China road, let's just do a little don't, and consider what if. I recently did a DNA test, recently, a couple years ago, to find out about my heritage and some questions about the old Marine. And, if you want to hear that, see my video in Storytime with Uncle Sage called I Was a Fake Indian. And you can hear the story of my DNA testing and why I did it. But the bottom line is, I got to thinking, is the DNA samples we're giving them the necessary tools to profile us for donors? Are we all being profiled for these rich elitists? Are we being put on a, if he ever isn't looking, nab him because so-and-so needs his liver list? Don't. Is that why they're DNA testing us? That's kind of creepy. But on a side point, let's talk about something real that's actually going on. Let's talk about the genocide of a group of people called the Falun Gong community. This is a group of people in China. They're not ethnic, they're religious, but not really. It's kind of hard to explain, but bear with me. A religion and belief in God is outlawed in China. Going there to preach the gospel is a death sentence, and many missionaries have lost their life attempting to do this. And the underground churches there are heavily persecuted. But amongst the rank and file Chinese, a concept of the Falun Gong lifestyle or way of living or being became popular, and it's more of a health thing, like yoga. There's not really, they don't have a God that they worship, but they believe in meditation and centering and breathing exercises, and it's a full lifestyle choice. They don't eat, I think they're vegetarians, they're all vegans. They live very pure lifestyles. They don't partake in processed foods and junk food. They eat from the earth. And they do these daily exercises that are mandated as part of their faith. It's not really a religion, so it was being permitted by the Chinese. I believe the number was 10 million Falun Gong followers when China decided that that was a bad idea. And they labeled them a cult. And since then, anyone who ever was suspected of participating in Falun Gong has been snatched up and put into concentration camps, many of them tortured to death. And that's been going on since 98 or 99, so almost 20 years. But I find it interesting that they were fine with Falun Gong until after 1997, because something happened in 1997. China's leadership was, the top 6 leaders in China were brought to a hospital that specialized in transplants. And they all had various health issues that could be, brought back to their lifestyles and, their age. And so they all had various busted organs. And they sent out military men and said, go to all the prisons with the doctors and you find compatible donors from us, from all of the prisoners, and we're going to get new organs. And they all got new organ transplants back in 97 as part of their life extension plans and processes. And they did this and they're saying that their whole donor system in China is legal and comes from condemned prisoners, only from condemned prisoners. But what does it take to get a death sentence? And there's a disparity here, because most of these Falun Gong practitioners are not being processed or given any due process or any trial. They're just being snatched out of their beds, and they wake up in the gulag. They wake up in prison. And the government's denying that they're doing this, and they're blaming it on other third party. There's a level of, I don't know, it must be criminals. It couldn't be us, but really it's the military and the government doing it that's happening in China around this harvesting and marketing of organs. So these Falun Gong are being snatched out of bed and taken to these gulags, and then once the proper donor is lined up and they know that, okay, so we have a buyer for your body parts, then they take these people to a hospital. And Falun Gongs are given special treatment in the prison process too. Yes, they are worked, but they are also better fed and under a doctor's care to protect and preserve their body parts, because Falun Gong organs are the most valuable of all organs on the planet. These people don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't eat processed food, they eat organic, they eat from the ground, they do these daily exercises, and they are considered among the healthiest subgroups of any society on the planet. So their organs are very, very valuable to this program that's going on in China. And so these people are being snatched out of their beds, and once they're offered up as like a lobster, you can go pick your lobster right out of the tank, to the rich elitist from Germany and France and the United States and abroad, who are going there to get these transplants. They're getting these Falun Gong body parts that are pristine and highly valued. And so these people are held basically on ice until their donors lined up. Then they're taken and given just enough sedative. They don't want to ruin the organs. They don't want to really knock them out, because that might put some, toxins into the organs. So they give them just enough sedation that they won't fight back. And they'll lay there and take it. And then they harvest these organs out of these people's bodies while they're still alive, and rush them off to the donors. And this is a system that inside whistleblowers are coming out. One doctor said that he personally removed 2,000 corneas from live, healthy Falun Gong practitioners who were political prisoners. That he himself did 2,000 over the course of about 2 years. That's a lot, where he just went and did the surgery and removed the eyeball on ice, the cornea, and off to the... Wow. Wow. Seriously, I'm blown away. So, the Falun Gong atrocities that are being committed against them are paramount to and equal to real genocide. There's a real genocide that's been going on. It took 100 million deaths to set up the communist empire in China. And now they are a killing machine, where they are literally harvesting the body parts of their own people and selling them to foreigners on a black market. Okay, so that was then. What's happening now? Currently, there is an informal eBay system, an internet type of computer eBay system that markets these organs to rich Western recipients from these various countries. And you can literally pick your new liver from a live human being, like picking lobster from a tank. My sister died of liver disease. I've said on my channel and comment section that Aunt Bobby drank herself to death, and that Aunt Bobby died of hepatitis. And the truth is both. She might have survived one or the other, but the two together killed her. Both were a result of her addictions. That's how she got hepatitis, was from a needle. She got the drinking, I guess, came by that genetically. If you believe in genetics, I didn't get the drinking gene. I can take liquor or leave it, and I leave it most of the time. I haven't had a drink in, I don't know, a couple months. Anyhow, and then it was only one, maybe two. So, but my sister Bobby, we call Aunt Bobby, not her real name, close enough. We used to laugh and say that she fell and broke her liver, but she lied about the drinking, said that she had been sober for many years, but she was a closet drinker, and managed to jump through all the right hoops to get on the liver transplant list. In fact, when she died, she was on the helicopter, the helipad in Tulsa, being ready to be sent to Dallas to receive her new liver, and she died before they could take off. because she was put on the list because of how sick she was. But what they didn't know is that she had gone into remission and gone back to drinking, and she'd been slamming whiskey, and then it just hit her one day. She just almost dropped dead, and they tried to get her a new liver, not knowing they were giving it to an alcoholic. But that did not happen. So someone else got the liver, and Aunt Bobby went on to heaven. But she was on the list to receive a new liver, and I know the process here. And it's funny because she asked me for a piece of my liver, that I could have given her a piece of my liver. And I knew she was an alcoholic, and I wasn't going to give a piece of my liver so she could destroy my liver like she destroyed hers and leave me with less liver. Maybe that's harsh. I don't know. She was a lifelong alcoholic, and she just wouldn't pull out of it. And she'd been through all the treatment and got all the help, but she just kept on closet drinking. It's just part of who she was. Would a rich husband or boyfriend have bought her a liver? Sure, they could. Is this black market a real thing? What's a liver cost these days? I don't know. But the whole thing is bizarre. It's freaky. And, there is a real genocide going on right now. And, look through your own house and through your own products. I did this. I had a come to Jesus moment where I kind of went through my house and went, made in China, made in China, made in China. Everything in my house is made in China. Everything's made in China. I'm supporting this illegal government that is snatching people out of their beds and harvesting their organs while they're still alive. Think about that. We're supporting them when we buy all this Chinese junk. I'm calling for action for you folks. If you think this is immoral, if you think this is a genocide, if you think this is every bit as evil as what was going on in Nazi Germany, then you will side with me in making a concerted effort. Listen, I'm not going to get religious about, is it made in China? I can't buy it if it isn't. I mean, if I need it, I'm going to try to do better. I'm going to look to buy things that are made in America. But I'm also going to make a concerted effort to never buy another Chinese product again. I had a moral problem with it all along, and there wasn't enough evil there that I could put my finger on for me to go, well, I shouldn't buy their products, But now, this was enough for me. Is it enough for you? Will you stop buying the Chinese products now? Will you stop supporting this genocidal government that is literally feeding off their own people like vampires? I don't know. Do you think this is fake news? I did my due diligence. I don't feel like I have to share my research. I encourage my viewers to do their own research because it's better that way. Find the sources on your own. It's pretty out there. Although you won't hear the mainstream media talking about it. They're too worried about Stormy Daniels and drunken parties from the 80s. God save our republic.